I've always wondered to myself, is there something that helps the entrepreneurs that succeed that they have, which other entrepreneurs don't? Is it something they know? Is it how they run their businesses? Is it the people they hire? Is it where they went to school? Is it their socialization, their background, their education, their mental spaces? What is it that makes the entrepreneur succeed? Welcome to my masterclasses, where I share with you everything you need to know about how to become a high-growth, high-scale entrepreneur. I'm joined by guests. We break down the myths, the ideas, the legends, everything you need to know to become a high-growth entrepreneur. Warning, this is the High Performance Zone. There are three rules, then we start. So the very three rules that you just need to remember in terms of how these masterclasses work, right? So rule number one is there is no such thing as a stupid question. In my years of doing this, one of the things I've learned is you're typically sitting there and you've got a question and you're just not quite sure how to ask it. So usually what happens is after this, and if you do this, I'm going to get so upset. After this, if we still have time, and I see some of you, did you buy books? Okay, come see me after this, I'll sign it for you, okay? All right, so after this, when I do some book signing, someone's going to come and go, you know, Vusi, I really wanted to ask you. So my business, nah. Don't do that. Ask the question while we're here. So everybody can hear, because usually if you're thinking it, somebody else is thinking it. Like if you're facing that problem, somebody else is facing that problem, right? And it could be something as, I don't know, rudimentary or standard as, how do I make sure that my VAT returns are done properly on time so I don't get penalties? Well, if you're an entrepreneur and you haven't had a VAT return problem yet, call me, because it will happen. It's not an if, it's a when, okay? The entrepreneurs who know are nodding, eh? The startup guys are like, what is VAT? Where do I find at the shop? Is VAT, is at the shop? Oh, VAT. Oh, why he doesn't say VAT? Why he doesn't say? Why he doesn't say VAT? Okay, so, like that's the truth. If you've never had the taxman call you, call me when he does, because he will. So the point is, whatever the question, ask it. Okay. First rule. Second rule is this space only works if in the room we have what I like to call a low center of gravity. That means there are no titles. We're all equal. I'm not presenting a show. I'm facilitating a discussion. Right? So, if you're in this room and you have some sort of education, or you've built an amazing startup, or you went to a saint somewhere school, or an old something, excuse my language, nobody gives like, get your head out of your own ass and join us human beings on this little rock called planet Earth. Okay? None of us care. Some of us succeed in spite of ourselves. I think a lot of entrepreneurs succeed in spite of themselves. Some just call it lucky. You get into the right industry at the right time, you know the right people, and then all of a sudden you begin to believe your own PR, right? So whatever it is you do here, whatever your background, let's leave that at the door. In here, we're all people just trying to share, collaborate, trust each other with information and learn. Okay? And the third rule is you would notice that there is no presentation. None. So these masterclasses aren't curated. We don't go, we're going to tell people 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We go, what are the problems? And let's help each other solve them. In the last masterclass we did in Joburg, we had a kid who has designed South Africa's very first own native soccer boot. Very interesting kid. He's 19 years old, right? So he's designed and he's built the soccer boot. He's got like 50 pairs or something. So I said to him, there's a couple of instructions I've given him. And I said to him, once you fulfill these things, I'm going to buy a pair of these soccer boots for my son's entire soccer team. Anyway, so he's built these soccer boots, and he comes and he brings the boot with to present to everybody and show them the boot, right? Amazing story. And the innovation for him was, how do I design a soccer boot that for the majority of the population who live in areas of the country where the sports grounds aren't grass but gravel, the soccer boot will sustain. It won't wear, right? Like, what an interesting innovation, right? It's what I call the real world innovation, not apps. No offense to anybody with an app. I need an app about which app not to get. That's the real app somebody needs to design. So anyway, so he comes and then he presents this and everybody loves it. And he asks me a couple of questions, and the truth is I had nothing to tell him. I'm like, great business, but nothing to tell him. In the back, there's a lady who's sitting down, very quiet, tiny lady, about this high, literally from the floor to here. She's about this high. She puts up her hand, and she comes forward and she says, I'm a trademark and copyright lawyer. I've been doing it for 15 years. I'm going to do your trademark and copyright for free. That's why we're here. That would have cost him 100,000 Rand to probably do it properly. Now he's getting it done for free, right? You're going to love this. Another lady sitting at the front with dreadlocks, blonde dreadlocks, puts up her hand and says, oh, I used to be an executive at EdCon, so I'm going to see if I can connect you with one of my people at EdCon to stock your merchandise. I saw the email 2 days ago. They'd taken an initial batch of 2,000 orders. That, Bazalwane, is why we are here. Now, how do I explain Bazalwane to white people? How do you say it? Hey? Saints, ne? Yeah, Bazalwane. It's just how we call each other as black people when we are lifting each other. Bazalwane. Good. Shall we get started? So, no presentation. This really just starts with a question. Any question from anybody, anywhere? And from the questions, we just begin to have a conversation. If you can, just kind of introduce yourself, tell us who you are, what you do, and then let's get going. Sir, the Speaker of the House recognizes you.
My name is Vusi, and I currently work in advertising, so I don't actually have a business as such, but I just want to see where I can take some of my ideas. But what I find I'm struggling with is actually trying to find a niche to get into my sort of market and industry. And once you find the niche, how do you actually start pricing that? So I want to find out.
Hey, sorry guys, how many mics have we got? Two? Okay, can we have one this side? Who's going to ask the next question? Right, can we make sure that you get the mic so that we don't do this running around?
So basically, I just want to find out, like, how do you actually find your niche?
How do you find your niche? What do you mean by that? I don't know. I don't understand what that means.
Like for me, I'm a designer, so
Right. What do you design?
logos, branding,
Okay.
that kind of thing. So, but it's especially in this day and age where social media is kind of taking it over, and lots of people and businesses are reaching out to those type of creators. How do you set yourself apart in that sort of space? Or how do you sort of specialize in that sort of space or find something unique to get sort of market share?
Yeah, you're in trouble.
Yeah, exactly.
So first, don't take the mic away because I just want us to have a conversation. The first reason you're in trouble is because a lot of creators, particularly who work in sort of like the graphic space, the videography space, and the illustration space, actually don't know that your entire craft is being commoditized. So there are firms today and there are platforms built where I can go in and punch in a name and it'll give me 1,000 iterations of what that name can look like as a logo. Right, different fonts, different illustrations. I can buy it as a video, a GIF. I can buy it as a 3D deep image. There's one I saw literally a day ago, which blew my mind away. And what they do is they do application of the logo. So once I bought the logo from the platform, they'll give me the entire collateral. What that means is they'll give me the logo, they'll give me the renders, they'll give me the AP file, the PNG file, and then they're going to give me the letterheads, the business cards, everything, and I'm paying this with a credit card for like $1,200. So I don't need to have a coffee with you anymore. Go, my business sells coffee. It's like, I go into the thing and I type my business sells coffee and asks, I saw the questions, like 7 questions. What does your business do? Who are your chief competitors? Yada, yada, yada. And then it infers from all of that, it runs an AI behind the scenes and it goes, if these are the businesses you're competing with, this is kind of what the logo needs to look like. So for instance, if I had a business to sell water, my logo would look different for a business to manage pensions. Because the pension fund is a trust economy, so I need like darker colors, more trusted colors, black, navies, and grays. So my logo might look like something like Alan Gray or Sasfin. It won't look like Valpre. It does that. It determines that. You just spent 4 years at graphic design school. I just paid $2,000 and I got the stuff done. So the reason I'm telling you this is here's what I would do if I was you. And I think every creative in the room needs to do this. Guys, if you're creative, work in a content house. Who needs creatives? Vusi needs a creative. You want to know why? Because we're publishing 3 videos a week. Who the hell's doing my edit? Yeah, like when we put out the poster for this, who did the I don't want to sit there and do posters. Like it's a low value activity for me, right? But what a lot of you are doing is you're going, I want to run a design house. Sure. You and 500,000 other people. What I would do is I would really go and find a niche environment, a niche entrepreneur in a niche space who needs a lot of creative, and I would make myself an asset for that guy. It's a bit like the kid who's taking a job today as a business analyst or as a coder at APSA. I wouldn't do that. I'd want to find a guy with a crazy idea and I want to become the CTO of his Facebook. Same skill, very different trajectories. Yeah? Cool, man. Yes, ma'am.
Do I need to stand?
No, please, just.
Hi, Sanbonan. My name is Ntombiaise Dube. My question is, say I've got a business which I've started. I'm going to use the example of selling amakwenya.
Right.
I sell
What is amakwenya in English? Amakwenya. It's amakwenya.
Sisters minus the sugar. That's amakwenya.
But with a lot more flavor.
Yes. Fat books. So I'm using the example amakwenya. Say I'm selling amakwenya. I've got the corner that I'm standing in, selling it with a to rent each.
Right.
And now I want to take my business to the next level.
Right.
What are the structures that I need to put in place in order for me to push my business to the next level? Now, I know when we talk about entrepreneurs, everybody says you need to be a person who perseveres, all the soft skills for a lack of better word. But what are the hard skills or hard way that I need to have in place in order for me now to move from 3 corners of selling amakwenya to the next level?
That's a great question. That is the fundamental question of why we're here, right? It's a small little word called scale, right? So, and people often ask me the question, why did nobody tell me this is in my ear? I can trust you guys, eh? People often ask me the question, so how do I know when my business... Oh, you can't hear me from the back. Can I have the microphone back, please? The same lady who said she can't hear me last time, she just said it again this time. So people often ask me the question, how do I know when my business is not scaled? The answer for that is actually very simple. Could you take 3 months leave and your business still meets its performance targets? If you can't disappear from your business for 90 days, you're not an entrepreneur. You're what we call self-employed. What happened? Did it hit you hard, eh? Is that you? Guys only laugh at that when they hear a nice bar and a hip-hop song and they're like, oh! Yeah, you're not, that's why, for me, the distinction is actually not academic. It's important, right? It's a very important distinction. There's a couple of models that go around. I'll share with you one that I kind of share with entrepreneurs, right? So there is a difference between being an entrepreneur, yeah? Being a business owner, yeah? Being self-employed, yeah? I beg your pardon? Being an employee. No, well, that wouldn't quite make it onto this. And being a professional. These are not the same things. So a professional, I am a doctor. I'm a dentist, yeah? I heal the patients, but if I'm not there, nobody heals the patients. Right, so I'm fascinated by the idea that there is a doctor who runs a practice, yeah? And there is a doctor who runs a hospital, and there is a doctor who's a CEO of a hospital group. I'm fascinated by that because they clearly have the same training, they just operate at very different levels. Yeah? The other thing you need to recognize is this is not for everybody. Most people, I think like 90% of people who say they want to be entrepreneurs actually just want to mean I want to determine my own life. Now, if that is what you're saying and that is what you want, which is you want to take your kids to school and rock up at the office at 10 o'clock, leave the office at 2, work a 4-hour day, then that's not quite what we mean by entrepreneurship. You want to be self-employed. Very big difference. So the graphic designer is somebody who's self-employed. I employ me, but I do the job. I am the value. Yeah? The professional is the lawyer, the advocate, the person, the accountant. You absolutely, positively must have them as some part of your business. They may use an underling to do the work, usually some sort of apprentice, but it's very difficult for them to scale their businesses because they need to sign off the document. You know, when my audits get done by EY, I know who the partner is. So if that document's not signed by him, even though I know he didn't do the work and his apprentices did, he must sign the document, right? So he's clearly a professional employed. Make sense? If he was to start his own business, a lot of professionals do this. So you leave EY, you leave PwC. I see a lot of black professionals, by the way, who walk into companies oversold on this thing of transformation and then get there and realize that the company's not quite as transformed as you used to be. Oh, rule number 4 of the masterclass, as we call it as it is here. And I've just seen so many of my friends who do this. They're like, oh, I've joined company X, Y, and Z. And then 3 months later, they go, yeah, no, I'm leaving. Right? Typically, when they leave and they say, I'm starting my own business, really what they mean is I want to be self-employed now. I used to do HR as an HR business partner, and I'm going to start a recruiting company. Yeah? I used to be in the legal team, now I'm going to do legal stuff. Right? Those people aren't entrepreneurs. You're self-employed. Big difference. The business owner is kind of the level you're talking about, right? So the business owner goes, so I've got this business, right? And rather than employ myself, I'm going to employ people to manage the people I used to manage, right? The thing is, you can never shortcut this process from here to here to here. You can't shortcut it. You have to go through all the steps, right? So if you think from day one, and this is, in my mind, a lot of the mistake I see some of my VC friends make who are chasing valuation growth. Long story for another day, but I really think that there's a bubble in South Africa, particularly in the tech space, where we're overvaluing companies off the base of the fact that there's more funds than there are good tech companies. So they're attracting very high valuations, they're getting a lot of money, but the entrepreneur driving that business hasn't gone through the natural process of growth. If I took a potato and I put it in the ground, and I gave you another potato and put it in the ground, and you watered your potato twice as much as I did mine, your potato wouldn't grow twice as fast. Because the laws of nature are fixed. Like, I love my son, he's 8, but he has to go through puberty. He can't skip it. That make sense? So a lot of us try to skip phases of growth because we want to get to the other side. The mistake you make is you don't realize that in that phase of growth is a lesson you've got to learn. So you have to manage your people. Long before you get managers to manage your people. Yeah? Gary Vee calls it being dangerous enough. Dangerous enough means I know each and every single thing about my business that I'm dangerous enough to know when you're bullshitting me. Yeah, but if I start with a business today and then the government agency gives me funding and I employ 100 people, I'm not dangerous enough because I wasn't there. Like in your business, who wrote the sales process? If it ain't you, there's a problem. You've got to write the sales process. Then you've got to sell it. You've actually got to try it. You've got to sell to the first few customers and test and make sure the sales process works. Because if you don't do that, when you employ 20 salespeople and they're not giving you the numbers, and they give you 1,000 excuses, which all salespeople will do, you're going to believe them. It's only if you go through the process of building it that you go, no man, it's rubbish. What are you talking about? My team will tell you, like if a client comes to us with a sale, it's now the scariest thing for them. They go, how do you know all these people? I'm like, 15 years, dude. Of course I know them. I've worked with them at some point or another. Oh, who called you? From what company? Oh, yeah, they used to work with so-and-so. How do you know that? Yeah, no, they used to work with so-and-so, then they left and went here. Now they're back, but they're back as a consultant. They're not there full-time anymore. Oh, by the way, they're not going to give you X amount for the transaction. You're going to have to go in at 85% of the value of the transaction, but what we should do is add a 20% premium on the actual proposal so that when they discount us down at the 20%, we get the value we wanted, not the 85% that we're willing to pay. I go, how did you know they were going to do that? I know the company, I know the politics, I know how I just know. Yeah, so you're going to have to go through those steps. Yeah. So your question was, so how do I know to scale? Like now I've got my Magwinya business in 3 corners. How do I get it around the country, right? It's a bit like saying to the general dealer in a township, what's the difference between you and Pick and Pay? Because if you really think about it, a retailer is a retailer is a retailer. They take a brick building, they put goods on it, they put prices on the goods with a shelf talker. When you go and pick up the goods, you go to the front, there's somebody who helps you, usually a cashier, you pay them and you take the goods. So why is the one listed and the other one, you have to work it every day? And it's because of how you gear it for the growth of the business, right? The point is, just on that alone, you could run an entire masterclass. Just like, where do you focus? Where do you grow? What are the key areas that are important? Let me answer your question this way. The first thing to understand about scale is you will get it wrong. Nobody scales right the first time. And if they're scaling right their first time, here's what's happened. They've raised money and they've got enough money to pay for the sins of failing, so you can't see it. I've never met one guy who scaled the first time and got it perfectly right. Doesn't exist. If that was the case, then EOH wouldn't be going through what it's going through right now, right? Those of you who don't follow the EOH story, EOH is a listed IT stock. And for like the past decade, they were the best performing IT stock in the country, like doing really, really well. EOH's model was very interesting. They were going around and buying small IT companies. And so the revenue growth of those IT companies showed on their top line is their revenue growth. And to buy those IT companies, they weren't actually using cash. They had some sort of mezzanine structure. So they would give the entrepreneur who started the IT company a little bit of money, but they'd pay them a predominant amount of money in the shares of EOH. So as an entrepreneur, because as an entrepreneur, your biggest risk is that you're locked in. You are your business. When you die, your business is gone, right? So if I'm thinking about my family and I go, how do I make sure that my enterprise value I can leave to my family? If I listed my company, then I could sell all my shares as the majority shareholder. So that was the idea. Join us as EOH, and we'll give you EOH shares, which are listed on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, and that's a part of how we pay you. Great story. One tiny, eeny-weeny little problem, which is all these companies you're buying are different names, different cultures, they work in different industries, they sell to different people, and they do it in different ways. When you're a listed company, you can't have the word different anywhere. Because if I'm a shareholder buying your shares, I've got to know that you know exactly what you're doing, that you've taken the right precautions from a risk and a regulation perspective. So where did they get caught? They got caught with state capture. When it turned out that some of the small businesses they bought were facilitators of major contracts that facilitated the state capture project. Now, I don't imagine the people sitting at head office knew. Maybe they did. Who knows? I mean, I'm very good friends with some of the executives who've just left there, right? And Stephen, who's taken over, is a proper risk guy. But Stephen, who's just taken over that business, is coming to turn that company into a bank, which very simply means no deal's going to get approved unless he sees it. You think the rate of growth of the EOH share price is going to be the same? Of course not. It's going to slow down now, right? But even when they scaled, the model of scale they used, when you look at it, you go, oh, this is a fantastic scale model. Yeah, until the rubber hits the road. Yeah. Here are, I think, 3 things I would give you. We do this in our accelerator program. So we have an accelerator program that we put entrepreneurs through. It's a 12-month program. We're actually launching our next one, I think, in a month's time. And this model isn't new. Any of you here who've done like some sort of management studies, you would have seen this model. So we go, what is the functional area of your business? And then we go, how robust are you? Very simple. And again, this isn't our model. It's all over the place. So it looks something like this. So from a functional area perspective, we would go, sales is a functional area. Marketing is a functional area. HR is a functional area. IT is a functional area. Legal, functional area. You know, there's an entrepreneur sitting in this room right now who's a one-man show, who's looking at this going, what is he talking about? Let me tell you, you are doing all of these every day. You're just not realizing that you're doing the different stuff. Vusi phones and says, can I please buy? You're now a salesperson. But before Vusi phoned and said, can I please buy? You posted a post on Facebook. You were a marketing executive. At the end of the month, you have to pay yourself a salary. Now you are HR. To send Vusi the invoice, you send an email. But now you are IT chief. And before I pay you, you send me a contract. Now you are legal. Did the penny drop for you? Did you? You're sitting here like, yeah, he's right. Eh? This is me, chief. Chief, this is me, man. Hey! Yeah? So you're multi-skilled, right? Remember my comment about being dangerous enough? Yeah. So first, my like model of growth is first do all of them. Then hire people to do all of them. Then you'll hire people who manage the people who do all of them. What most people just want is to have the perfect business that has managers who manage the supervisors who supervise the people who do all of this. That's going to take you time. It's not going to come overnight, right? Nothing worthwhile actually just doesn't come without effort. So these are functional areas. Then the question you got to ask yourself is, what do I need in terms of people? Yeah? What do I need in terms of process? Yeah? And what do I need in terms of technology in each of these? So let's test this. I run a business. I am a company that sells water. Everybody these days is in the water business. So I run a water business. So from a sales perspective, what would I need? Let's imagine my model is something like this. Tell me if this sounds remotely familiar. I'm going to go and make 1,000 liters of water, and I'm going to bottle them each in 500 milliliters, which means I'm going to have 2,000 bottles. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to find young kids in townships somewhere standing on corners, and I'm going to give them my water. I'm going to say to the kids, you sell the water. I'm going to sell the water to you at 5 Rand. You sell it at 7 Rand. Yeah? And I'm going to call these kids entrepreneurs, which they're not, but that's what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to go on social media and I'm going to tell everybody about it. And I'm going to go, this is what I'm doing. Check me out. Right? Done with good intent. But I want to show you why this model is important. Done with good intent, right? So now I've got 50 kids out there selling my water. Okay? The kids don't know anything about the manufacture process of the water. I probably don't know anything about the manufacture process of the water. I just get the water, right? But these kids who are selling are now my salespeople. They're not really entrepreneurs. They're my salespeople. I've got to have a process of recruiting the right people, because if I get the people wrong, I've got a huge risk. I've got people who control my products and who can sell it and not pay me, and I don't know them. So there's got to be a way about recruiting the people. Then I've got to have a process. When do I deliver to them? Every Monday, every Tuesday, every Wednesday, every Thursday? When do I collect? When do they collect? What's the process that they use to tell me how much quantity they need, how much demand they have? And I've actually got to document that process. And if I'm smart and I'm thinking like a scale entrepreneur, what I really want to do is go, rather than do this myself, I'm going to find some sort of technology that I can put in place. Hey guys, here's a system, a platform, an app. Put in all your orders, all of your information. That way, at the beginning of the new week, I know exactly how much demand you have for the rest of that week. Yeah? And I would document all of this. And I would do it for every single part of the business. That's how you scale. And this is a living document. Mine is sitting on my Evernote on my dashboard. So it's a living document. So I know where the weak spots in my business are. And I go, oh, wait, so we're on marketing, we're really, really great on people. Or we're amazing on process, we're just terrible on people. Okay, so the process works, I just need to find really good people. Make sense? And sometimes it'll be the other way around, because a business goes through variations. Sometimes it'll be the other way around, but it's the same dashboard I'm looking at, and I'm making decisions about how to scale that business. It's the only way to do it. One last thing about scale is not for everybody, right? Like sometimes it's actually, guys, I probably was the happiest when I was self-employed. It was so nice. It was just me reporting to me. It's cool, like, there's no leave days, there's just none of the stuff you have when you have a firm. There's no lethargy, there's no inertia, there's no so-and-so is fighting with so-and-so is not getting on. It was just me. I used to listen to Redit Labi in the morning, just me. It was cool, right? And that's why many people who say they want to be entrepreneurs actually mean they want to be self-employed. It's perfectly fine. Yeah. The life of a guy who's a real entrepreneur who's scaling that business is actually not quite all that attractive. They don't sleep, those guys. Because the minute you become an entrepreneur and you're managing this, you're managing 1,000 moving pieces at a time. It's 1,000 moving pieces at a time. So every single shop you open, every single branch you open, every single employee you hire, every single new client you onboard, you literally it changes this complexion of your business. So you're never off, even when you're off. You're never on leave, even when you're on leave. You're constantly and consistently thinking about this system. How do I make it better? How do I make it function better? Yeah? Cool. Wow, right, so what an amazing time we've had in Cape Town. Like, I honestly didn't expect the turnout we had today. So we just had our Cape Town masterclass. We thought we'd get a couple of people in the room. We ended up with a couple of hundred people in the room. I think easily over 500 people, entrepreneurs in that room. It was absolutely amazing. First, to the team at Workshop 17, thank you so much for accommodating us and allowing us to create a platform for sharing, collaboration, and trust, right? That's really important to us. And to all the entrepreneurs that came out, what an amazing time. The learning, the opportunity to share, the experiences, the cross-collaboration of opportunities about what we can learn from each other was absolutely amazing. So cool that we continue to be on this tour to do these masterclasses. And to each and every single entrepreneur that comes to these masterclasses, that trusts us with their story, their opportunity, their struggles, we really appreciate it. We'll hope that you guys are learning about your business and about yourself as much as we're learning too. Cheers.